Hey guys, it's Scott from fxmissions.com. Just a note, I've finished the trilogy of anthologies from the forefront, and all 3 books are currently available on Amazon.
Take your leadership to the next level. It's time for the Foundational Missions Leadership Moment with Scott McClelland of FX Missions.
Hi, Scott McClelland with your FX Missions Leadership Moment. Thanks for being here. I'm joined by Caleb Lorensen. Hi, Caleb.
Hello.
How are you, brother?
I am so excited to be in the interwebs with Scott McClelland with the Leadership Moment.
Equally excited are we that you are here. Thanks, man. It's been a few minutes since you were on the Leadership Moment.
A few
Indeed. I think it's been something like more than a year. We got a bunch of leadership moments with you when we were in Thailand.
Yep.
I think it was episodes 64 through 69. You were so verbose.
Yes.
We were having an awesome time. Thanks for coming back on the show, even though it's been a while.
So what are we talking about today, Mr. McClelland?
Tracy Lorensen was on the podcast, your wife, that's right, with a couple of sections or sessions on leadership, specifically women and leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'd offer you a chance to rebut.
Oh, yes.
So, no, not necessarily a rebuttal, but I did want to get your scan. Obviously, Tracy's a strong woman. She's a strong leader. She is a great example of a woman leading and taking action and doing things, stepping out. All of those things to me are everything what leadership is.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to get a scan on women in leadership. You've got a front row seat.
Yeah.
You're a great leader and a significant person in your own right. But on a scan on leadership, women and leadership, I wanted to get your take on that, maybe some things you might want to say. We talked with her about some things that she's recognized that keep ladies from stepping forward, maybe keeping them hesitant. Mm-hmm. We also talked about what are some of the contributions that she's observed that are strong, mm-hmm. that women have made in the area of leadership. And she also mentioned that she really was happy to see some what appeared to her to be progress in the leadership side in terms of church world and things like that since she's back. You guys have been back in the States. So that's just kind of a little bit of a summary.
Cool.
What would you like to discuss, Caleb? I want to give you a chance to weigh in from a male perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can recall a time that we were in a meeting with missions leaders from around the world. There's probably 100 people in the room. And I was so burdened in my heart about how male-dominated everything was. From the people speaking, to the people sharing the stories, to the people casting vision, to the people sharing strategy, to even so in the missions realm of finding local partners and finding, like people to collaborate with in the various locations. And I was astonished at how male focused it was, especially in the searching for the discussion about how to search for collaborative partners in your local context. And all I could think about was how they're missing more than half of humanity available to demonstrate the kingdom. And I stood up and I said, when are we going to start hearing from women? When are we going to start hearing from women's contribution? In fact, they were in this particular meeting, they were talking about local partners as the Barnabases for the Pauls. And I said, you think about the book of Acts and how integral women were for the distribution and establishment of the kingdom in those stories. And after the meeting, a number of women came up and they said, thank you so much for saying something. We really appreciate it. And no one's ever done anything like that for us before.
Wow.
And it just kind of rocked me that, as Scott, you're so familiar, the tendency of driven men to become arrogant and self-centered. We just need, I've even thought, how much do I just need to step aside, support, and promote what God has put in the heart of my wife and then of our teammate who's also a woman? Where my role of leadership is to say, hey, what is God showing you that you want to do? And how can I come alongside that? Instead of it always being kind of the other way around.
Right.
And in fact, on the missions, since this is the FX Missions podcast, I think something to really consider, any guy who finds himself in a leadership position with a single female, especially, I just think it's so essential that that person looks for how they can serve, uplift, support, encourage, and empower that single woman to be effective. Instead of burdening her with responsibilities and expectations, childcare, common problem, look at how that particular woman should be released into what God has created her for, which is a form of leadership. So I think that first impediment, and probably the most major impediment, is that men are so used to being the leaders that we forget how to step back, observe, and look how we can support the people around us, because we're always casting vision and making strategy, when in fact maybe the best strategic people are our wives and our female teammates who are out meeting people in meaningful ways.
Well put, Caleb. It's kind of like much in life, we think we see things as they really are. And we see things as we are, is what we do. So we've got a lens. Our perspective is a lens on our eye. We can't see the lens, but everything else we see is shaped by the lens that's laying on our eye. And you talk about male-dominated perspective or egocentric. Sadly, a lot of those weaknesses work together.
Yeah.
They collaborate to form an impenetrable shield of arrogance.
Yeah.
And Lord help us on that. As I'd mentioned with Tracy, a lot of the way that men in leadership behave is to suggest that they're the essential element.
Yeah.
And everything else is inessential or less essential.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you're saying. I think we're all essential. God didn't create any unnecessary genders or individuals. Thank God for that. I think we've got to grow to a point to where we recognize and cooperate. It's one thing to recognize. It's something else to cooperate. I think we've got to get both of those together. How do we cooperate with what the Lord wants to do in raising up leaders who aren't male?
Yep.
Lord, please help us to be a part of the answer and to give a good example. I know you're doing that, Caleb. I consider you and Tracy to be incredible examples. Also with your teammate, who I'm going to get on the podcast again soon, who is the single lady. Lord, help us, give us grace to offer a quality example and to offer perspective. There's so much room for growth there. And I really appreciate your commentary there to that end, Caleb. And I know you're passionate about this. If you get a lot of people getting back to you on this podcast thing, how many is it? Female workers in cross-culturally versus guys?
I just remember seeing the data from the Missio Nexus Facebook page, and it's a significantly single and female dominant in terms of numbers of people serving.
And, that plays back to your comment from earlier.
In our limited experience, because of how Tracy and I present ourselves, we meet single women who are in situations where they just feel taken advantage of, not respected, not valued. There's this idea that, I don't know, there's just this idea that they need to be micromanaged and controlled, or else the single woman might cause problems or something like this, And we had people coming to us and just kind of pouring out their hearts. It's a little sad, but as you've mentioned, there's a shift and we're going for it. So come on.
I think somebody's got to lead the way, and somebody's got to show that it can be different. To demonstrate that gives hope to everyone who's hoping for change.
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's a lot of investment, a lot of investedness into what is and what was. Change is a threat to what is and what was.
Yes, it is.
Lord, help us embrace the change. Now, thanks for your commentary there, bro. Speaking of, if somebody wants to find out more about what you're doing or ask you any questions directly, how would they reach out to you?
Email. Yeah.
Snail mail of the future. Email.
No Snapchats over here.
Okay, not that far forward. Thank you.
The Lorensens, TheLorensens @gmail.com.
Okay, awesome.
We're also on Facebook. You want to sell your data.
We want to sell your data for a high price. No, sorry. Anyway, awesome, bro. Thanks for being with us on Leadership Moment. We're going to see you on the flip side. Maybe by the time this goes live, we'll be in Thailand. Who knows?
Okay.
Wait, no, we're planning for next year. So really appreciate you. And may the Lord bless you guys as you soon return to Chiang Mai. Give your coworkers a hug for me over there and make sure and hit the Aussie when he's not looking, just from me.
I will.
Awesome, bro. I'll catch you downrange.
Okay.
This is Scott McClelland with your FX Missions Leadership Moment. If you'd like to contact me or us, please do so at fxmissions.com. Until next time, have a good one.
This Leadership Moment was produced in partnership with Engaging Missions. Have your leadership question answered by contacting Scott at fxmissions.com. Visit FX Missions to learn more about how you can grow your leadership and engage in missions. Visit engagingmissions.com for encouragement, insight, and resources from missionaries, ministry leaders, and church planters.